Taction USA is your go-to source for crime scene and evidence collection supplies. Taction USA offers quality products all designed and tested by active duty first responders and investigators. With no minimum order, you can order as much or as little as you need. Ordering is fast with no hassle attached. Check out TactionUSA.com today and find the quality and quantity you need when it comes to crime scene and evidence collection supplies. That's TactionUSA.com, or look for the link in our show notes and Facebook posts. Hello once again and welcome to In the News, brought to you by Crossing the Tape. I am Brendan, joined along with
Hillary.
And this time around we're going to talk about a strange passing. Well, pair of passings.
Yeah.
Right now there's some information unknown, but it looks a little odd on the surface.
Right. And it's a very high profile case.
Yes, I'm sure you've heard the passing of Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa.
Yes, which we were saddened about because we like Gene Hackman. And there's a bunch of movies we like that he's been in. Mm-hmm. Our favorite being The Birdcage.
Yes.
That's our favorite movie of all time.
Senator Keeley.
Yeah. But we were disheartened by the news, but the story's intriguing. And it appears that he and his wife have had a home in Santa Fe, New Mexico for about 30 years. Mm-hmm. And they died in Santa Fe. And from my understanding, the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office was called to do a welfare check on the couple. They hadn't been heard from for a while. Yeah,
a neighbor went to check on them, and he looked in a window and saw what appeared to be somebody down.
Right.
So he called. They, of course, live in a pretty exclusive...
I was going to say, we need to talk about their neighborhood.
Lovely gated community.
Lovely gated community. We looked it up on Google Maps. Gorgeous.
Yeah,
big,
there's
huge...
There's no street view. You cannot see.
No,
it's
but
not for your eyes.
There's big, huge mansions. It's out on the
Lovely,
outskirts of Santa Fe. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
But that neighbor reached out to the community security.
Okay.
Who also went, checked, and when they found out, it looks like somebody's down in there, they contacted Santa Fe County, who made entry.
Right. At first, all the headlines we saw that was that they were thinking it was carbon monoxide poisoning because the wife was down, Gene Hackman was down, both deceased, unfortunately, and one dog.
One of three, I believe.
Yes, there were 3 dogs, but at the time there was only one, so they were thinking it was carbon monoxide. It's still pretty cold. Santa Fe gets cold, and
possibly an issue with a furnace or something.
Right. So that was the initial thought.
Right. Right from the get-go, it was no foul play suspected.
Right. And my thought was, it's terrible that they're gone, but that would be a okay way to go. You go to sleep. You and your spouse are both gone.
He was 95.
Yeah.
So to pass at 95 painlessly in your sleep from... But that's not quite what happened. That's not quite.
So as things started to unfold, we started following the story and followed news, press releases and news stories and the sheriff's office in Santa Fe. But it does appear that they decided to conduct a search warrant. They got a search warrant for the home because the death seemed suspicious enough. And what I found...
Right. The more they looked, said, follow up.
Because Hackman himself was found on the living room floor, and his wife was in a bathroom with pills scattered everywhere, with the dog that died also. So because those kind of circumstances, that doesn't seem quite right.
And the sheriff's office did have the local fire department come and do
check.
Some carbon monoxide testing to see.
Right.
And they turned up, and it didn't appear there was anything dangerous in the environment.
Which they still needed to do in the autopsy, which we'll get to. Mm-hmm. But just the circumstance itself, me as a, prior crime scene investigator, I would think that was suspicious.
Yeah.
So they went ahead and in all training for death investigation, if you're supposed to go into any death investigation as if it's a homicide.
Yes, all deaths are homicide.
Until proven otherwise.
Bingo.
Because then you're not going to mess up the evidence. You're going to treat it with the utmost careful, you're going to be careful and precise.
It's much better to treat it that way than go in going, oh, this is fine, and then realizing later, oh, we don't have a crime scene anymore, and this was clearly a murder.
So the two were both based on lividity and blood pooling, which is blood pooling, but other aspects of decomposition. They deemed
some mummification.
Yes, mummification.
That is not short term.
No, they said 10 days before, but to me, it depends on the temperature of the house.
Yes.
Why they were mummified already.
Of hands and feet.
Hands and feet, which would make sense with circulation.
Yeah.
There's other aspects that we won't get into that would determine that. Like we mentioned, one dog was deceased, but there were two others found on the property.
And that dog was in a kennel. The one that was deceased was in a kennel. So
in the bathroom.
I believe so.
Huh.
So it may have been... That dog may have been totally fine, but since it was trapped without food or water after their passing...
That's true.
That could have resulted in the dog.
Who knows how old the dog was or what condition.
Yes. So it, again, doesn't appear carbon monoxide or other poison for the dog, at least.
Right. During the search warrant, police seized phones and other evidence, and I haven't seen anything of... It takes a while to go through things like that, so we haven't heard anything of the results of that. But the autopsies were conducted pretty quickly, which they always are. So the autopsy being done so quickly wasn't out of the ordinary. Normally when there's a suspicious death or a death in general...
Or anything questionable.
Yes, that requires an autopsy. It's usually done the next day. There's only been a few times that I have worked a case where for some reason it was a little bit later, but they are usually pretty quick.
Yeah.
So that's not out of the ordinary. However, to get the full toxicology reports, that takes a little bit longer. But they must have expedited something because it has already been, said. Confirmed, thank you. That the carbon monoxide testing, it was negative. Yeah, both bodies were negative for that poisoning. So while the toxicology results are not complete and they haven't all been confirmed, at least that aspect has been confirmed. So then that begs the question of, what happened?
And the sheriff's office also confirmed no signs of blunt force trauma, no injuries that consistent with, there was a break-in and
I'm interested in the pills scattered on the floor.
Yes.
And I'm interested in, at that point with that kind of scene, I don't know if you could recreate the sequence of events.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in at least the pill aspect and to see if Hackman himself has any of...
they're found in completely different parts of the house.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see if, when they kind of narrow down time of death as best they can, how far apart they are. Right.
Which will be interesting too, because the mummification to me is also interesting, because that usually doesn't happen. Their estimate at this point was 10 days.
Right.
But
Hackman's pacemaker showed last activity on the 17th of February, and they were found, I believe, 27th.
Yes.
Or late on the 26th.
Right. So that to me is interesting, but mummification and body decomposition, environmental factors play a role. So if the house was cold, or if the house, obviously if it was warm, they would have decomposed more. Mm-hmm. But if it was colder, maybe mummification,
preserved effectively in a cold environment.
Hackman was 95, as we said, and he was in somewhat poor health. His wife was 65, and they had been married for 30 years. However, I did find a statement on an article from one of Hackman's daughters that said he was still in good health, all things considering.
Yeah, for 95, probably not too bad.
Right. And that's what we have to consider. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I also read an article where a friend of the couple said that they were alive and well not long before their death, and I wanted to find out what the friend said, but I don't know if she saw them in person or that she had a Zoom call with them or something. Mm-hmm. She had recently spoken to them, and she said they were okay. Mm-hmm. So, but at 95, you don't know. Now, the wife at 65 My other thought with all this is it would be interesting to see if he was gone before her and she was upset.
That's kind of where my mind has gone.
Yeah. Because if the pills, and they were in different areas of the house.
Yes.
They've been married 30 years.
Yes.
You know, if I found you deceased, I would be quite upset.
Yeah. Right.
Who
knows what your next move would be.
But yeah. So I don't know. To me, I'm wondering, is that what this is?
Right. Did she find him already passed?
And she was so upset that she did something. I mean,
drastic.
We don't know.
No, but it'll be... The toxicology and all should probably be made public in the next few days.
Right. And,
And that'll give a very clear picture if that's the case.
And they were very involved in the Santa Fe art community and the food industry in Santa Fe. And, they were well known in their own community, let alone, globally.
Yeah, right. As a famous actor.
I don't believe, nothing I've read, there was no strife between the two. Right. Yeah. So I'm wondering if she did find him deceased and then she was so upset.
Distraught. Yeah. Interesting note, the door to the home was found unsecured and open.
Huh.
And Hackman was in or near the mudroom. So that might indicate he had just re-entered the house.
Right.
And maybe collapsed there.
Yeah, because...
And that's where she found him.
If it were open, there's no sign of forced entry.
Right.
And it wasn't open, I've seen nothing about anything being stolen. And we already mentioned it's in an affluent neighborhood.
With their own security team.
Yes, there's a security team for that neighborhood. What a job would that be,
To be neighborhood watch for Gene Hackman and other fancy folk.
Yeah, probably other celebrities, I would guess. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, and this is definitely one that we'll have to cover more.
Yes, maybe down the line. I think we've said that on 3 out of 5 of these episodes so far.
So we'll have to circle back.
Maybe over the summer we'll have a follow-up episode up to this point.
Right.
Here's what we've talked about so far and
this
where
is
it's
what
gone.
We know now. Yeah.
So we should expect more information on this in the next few days. It's all unfolding pretty rapidly. Yeah, and everything I've seen is update after update, and they're really updating things quickly. Well, everybody really wants to know what the heck happened here. Well, yeah, especially being down that long, right, without anyone noticing. Right. So it's sad, but I hopefully they'll find some answers and try to piece together what happened. It is difficult too at that point to piece together exactly, and there's no foul, there's no foul play, right, per se. So that's also difficult because I hate to say it, but as a former CSI, when there's foul play, it's easier to piece the puzzle together. Now we know we're looking for someone. Right, we're looking for someone. We have with this kind of thing, it is a little more difficult because it might be just we don't know what they were thinking. Yes. And it's a good lesson for everyone. Make friends with your neighbors. Right. Just in case you haven't been heard from in a while, somebody will come check on you. Somebody will check on you. Yeah. In the time that I've been doing this, I've had quite a number of welfare checks called in from people who live out of state, far away, haven't heard from a family member in days, and I get there and they're barely clinging to life. Yeah. And we get them to the hospital. Right. If they called a day later, it might be too late. So make sure there's people that check on you regularly. Yes. Please. And with that wraps up this episode of In the News. Thank you for listening. Join us again soon, and so long. Stay safe. Due to the array of duties officers must carry out, comfortable, reliable footwear is paramount, and not just any old boot will do. Officers must be able to count on their boots to appear professional and perform at a high level regardless of the task at hand. 511's 8-inch AT AR 670-1 boots meet all of these neat criteria and more. Featuring the all-terrain load assistance system as well as Ortholite footbeds, you'll know the meaning of the word comfort each time you put them on. This soft padding allows officers to endure long shifts without fatigue, sweat, or discomfort. You'll also find the added confidence in your step not only because of the sharp appearance of these boots, but because of the highly adaptive soles. Slip-resistant and traction-focused, the AR6701 boots are designed to help you go anywhere you need to with ease. Additionally, these boots are compliant with U.S. Army uniform regulations. I've worn 511 AT boots for years, and can tell you from experience they will never disappoint. Get your AR670-1 boots or any other high-quality AT boots from 511 today.